let us offer our salutations to Swami Vivekananda, because today's topic is a topic on which Swami Vivekananda can be the best exponent. If you go through the literature of Swami Vivekananda, you will find so many quotes, so many sentences where Swami Vivekananda says, be bold, should be courageous, should be brave. He says, if you find one word coming like a bomb from the Upanishads, it is the one word, abhi. Be fearless, be courageous, be bold. Man dies but once. Don't be a coward, don't die many times. Die only once. If death comes, that is the worst of our miseries. Let it come. We are determined to die again. There are so many very inspiring sentences that gives us, and this message of Swami Vivekananda of fearlessness, of bravery, of courage, that all have emanated from basically the message of Vedanta that he gave in America. When he went to America for participating in the World's Parliament of Religions in Chicago, as you know, on 11 September 1893, he delivered his historic speech. He started with Sisters and Brothers of America, and all the 7,000 people stood and went on clapping for more than 2 minutes. And the newspapers were all appreciative of his speech on that day. When the New York Herald said, undoubtedly, the greatest figure in the Parliament of Religions is Swami Vivekananda. After listening to him, we feel how foolish on our part to send missionaries to India. Their religion is so great, rather we should invite missionaries from India. At that time, when India was a slave country under the dominion of British government, at that time, Swami, and the overall impression, the whole world of India was, it is a country full of snake charmers and all that. At that time, he removed that misconception about India, that India is the greatest country in the world, having the very great spiritual culture. All this he told. That was a very short address on 11 September 1893, but revolutionized the whole world. It is considered, even as in today, it is considered one of the best speeches ever given by anybody in the whole world. Whenever there is a selection of 100 greatest speeches of the world, this speech, of course, finds its place there. And so it was a very brief speech, but it gave an impetus for the first time about the message of harmony of religions, the message of universal brotherhood. And that is why it is so relevant today when we are talking about globalization today. So that was also 9/11. And we did not listen to his message of harmony of religions. So there was another 9/11 after 108 years, and the World Trade Center broke. But just imagine the courage of Swami Vivekananda, a 30-year boy at that time, and all the hundreds of great religious leaders, spiritual leaders from all over the world. And in that platform, he dares to say all those things. For the first time in the world history, it is the Indian spiritual culture is being given, is being delivered at the World Parliament of Religions, at the world platform, at the global platform. Just imagine, at that time, even today we cannot think of that, but at that time, when it was a slave country, look at the courage of Swami Vivekananda. So when he told, be courageous, he is the best person to tell about courage, because he derives his courage and strength from the message of Vedanta, which he delivered in America and Chicago Parliament of Religions, not on 11 September, on 19 September. While reading about Hinduism, he referred to the shloka from the Shveta Upanishad, where it is written, Shrunuvantu Vishve Amritasya Putra Aye Dhamani Divyani Tastu Vedahametam Purusham Mahantam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat Tameva Viditva Atibrittameti Nanya Pantha Viditenaya. I have found the Ancient One who is beyond all miseries. Be fearless by going to him. And then he told, dear sisters and brothers of America, let me call you by this sweet name. What is that name? Amritasa Putra. Ye are the children of immortal bliss. Ye, the children of immortal bliss, holy and perfect beings. Ye, divination are sinners. It is a sin to call a man so. It is a standing liable on human nature. Come up, O lions, and shake off the delusion that you are sheep. Your soul's immortal. Spirit is free, blessed and eternal. You are not matter. You are not bodies. Matter is a servant, not ye the servant of matter. The message of strength, the message of fearlessness, the message of bravery, the message of courage that Swamiji gave so often was all based on this basic Vedantic principle that you are children of immortal bliss. Inside each and every human being, there is a center of consciousness, the nature of Sat Chit Ananda, infinite existence, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss. Esha sarveshu bhuteshu, gudo atmana prakashate, drishyate tvagraya buddhya, shukshmaya, shukshmadarsvi. Inside every human being, irrespective of caste, creed, color, religion, nationality, there is a center of consciousness having infinite power. It is about that Atman power that Swami Vivekananda spoke of, and he gave this message. Ye, the children of immortal bliss, come up, O lions, shake off the delusion that you are sheep. Your soul is immortal, spirit's free, blessed and eternal. You are not matter, you are not bodies. Matter is a servant, not ye the servant of matter. And he used to give illustration he gave through the story of the lion and the sheep. Very beautiful story, small story, but worth remembering whenever we are in distress, whenever we lose courage, whenever we become fearful. Just remember this story, beautiful story of Vedanta. A lioness was going in the forest or crossing a flock of sheep. The lioness jumped. Now, she was pregnant. So because she jumped, she gave birth to a small lion cub. And the lioness went to the other side, fell down unconscious, and died. Now this small lion cub started weeping because it had lost its mother. So the mother of the sheep started rearing, started taking care of this small lion cub. And the small lion cub started growing, started going along with the flock of sheep, starting going along with the sheep, eating grass like sheep, bleating like sheep, bah, bah. It went on growing. It became a big lion, and yet it was going, playing, going along with the sheep, playing with the sheep, eating grass and bleating. Now after a long time, in the same forest, another big lion came. And it saw at a great distance a flock of sheep going, and all the sheep bleating, bah, bah, bah. And he was very much wonderstruck to see a small lion cub going along with the sheep, also bleating like sheep. And he had never seen any lion bleating like sheep. So it became very much wonderstruck. So it came nearer in order to see what it is all about. And looking at the lion, all the sheep became so frightened. They started running, bah, bah, bah. This small lion also started running, bah, bah, bah. And this big lion caught hold of, hey, where are you going? You're a lion like me. Why are you afraid? These are sheep. And so they are afraid of me. I can understand. But you are a lion. Why are you afraid? The big lion said, bah, bah, bah. The small lion said, bah, bah, bah. I'm not the lion. I'm the sheep. Big lion said, you fool. You are a lion and still you are telling you are a sheep. You are lion. You are lion. And the small lion started still more weeping. Started weeping and became very much frightened and started doing more and more of this bleating, bad. Now, this big lion was in a fix what to do. This fellow is not understanding. So it caught hold of that small lion by the neck, dragged it near a pond, and told the small lion, look at your reflection in the water, look at my reflection. Your face resembles that of mine or that of the sheep. Now, when the small lion saw both faces similar, yes, you're lying. And now give up this bleating, bam, bam, roar like me, and started roaring. Yes, come with me. Now you are the king of the forest. And became the king of the forest. After narrating this story, Swami Vivekananda used to say, do you know, this small lion was already a lion, but why it was bleating? Because it had forgotten that it was a lion. The same thing has happened to us. Inside every one of us, there is Atman, the center of consciousness, irrespective of caste, creed, color, religion, nationality, inside every human being, whether somebody is a boy or a girl or a man or a woman or rich or poor, old and young child, old, higher caste, lower caste, irrespective of caste, creed, color, religion, nationality, age and gender. Inside every human being, there is a center of consciousness, and that is having infinite power. And you believe in that, then only this tremendous power will come. All the fear will go. And we will later on see how this power can be awakened. It is there in latent form. But let us first of all understand, this is our birthright. It is our birthright to have that infinite power. And each and every human being can have access to that power. And with that power only, we will be able to achieve everything, whatever we want. And we can be fearless, we can be bold, and we can be courageous, and we can go and conquer the world. So we will see later on how this divinity can be manifested. But we have to remember that this is the real type of courage that we want. Two types of courage Swami Vivekananda speaks of. One is the courage of facing a cannon. That is also a courage. Showing your bravery in the war front. That is also bravery. Another courage is the courage of this moral and spiritual courage. And he used to narrate a story. When Alexander came to India, he was told by his master, guru, that when you're going to India, please bring a good gift for me. What gift I should bring for you? Then he said, please bring a good saint from there. India produces the best saints. So bring a good saint. So Alexander came, he was in search of a saint. After long search, he found a saint in a forest sitting under a tree and deeply engrossed in meditation. When that saint opened his eyes, Alexander started talking with him. You know, Alexander was very knowledgeable. He knew even philosophy. He asked many philosophical questions also. And he was so much enamored by the replies given by the saint. He was extremely impressed by the wonderful knowledge of the saint. So he told the saint, I am very much impressed by you. Now please come with me to my country. I'll build a beautiful palace for you. I'll make arrangements of your food, clothes, everything, and you will be very happy there. So please come with me to my country. The saint laughed and they said, why should I come with you? I am very happy here. I don't need a palace. I am under the tree, very happy. This river is giving me water. The tree is giving me fruits. I don't need the clothes. I am Digambar and I am enjoying my spiritual bliss. I'm very happy here. I need not go anywhere. No, no, no. You have to come with me. I promised my Guru, I'll bring a saint and I'm impressed by you, and you have to come. I'll not come. Now, Alexander was not in a habit to listen to any no from anyone. So he became very much angry, drew out his sword. If you don't come, I'll kill you. And when the sword of Alexander came out from the sheath, he had not used the sword. The other person, seeing that shining sword in the hands of Alexander, would faint there and there, then and there. But here the reverse thing happened. As soon as Alexander brought out the sword and said, I'll kill you, that saint started laughing loudly. He said, you fool, you want to kill me? Don't you know your sword cannot pierce me? Don't you know the fire cannot burn me? Don't you know the air cannot dry me? Don't you know the water cannot melt me? I am the birthless, deathless, ever pure, ever blissful Atman. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakah, na chainam kledantyako, na shoshati maruta, acchedoyam, adayoyam, aklodyo ashoshevacha, nitya saragata sthanu, achaloyam sanatana. I am ever pure, ever blissful Atman. Nothing can change me. Now, the reverse thing happened. Alexander never saw any person with such boldness, and the sword fell down from his hands and started shivering. Then the saint said, you fool, you want me to take to your country? I am seeing through my third eye, you are not going to reach your country. And the history says Alexander could not reach his country. On the way, he had a very peculiar type of fever. He became sick. He was on the deathbed. And then he called his general and said, please fulfill my last wish. The general said, sure, but we are very much so sorrowful that you are leaving us. Is that I am also feeling sorrowful. He loved his mother like anything. I also wanted to meet my mother before dying. But I think now the death has come to my doorstep. I cannot avoid it. So please fulfill my last wish. And the general said, we will fulfill. So what is the last wish? My last wish is that when I die and you put me to the grave, put out my hands from dangling out of the grave. And the general said, sure, we will do that. But why this peculiar wish? Then Alexander said, you know, I want to give the message to the world. Alexander came, conquered the whole world, so many elephants, so many horses, so many kingdoms, so much of gold, so much of silver, so many things I've acquired. But today, I'm going empty-handed. Nothing goes with a person, everything empty-handed. Let the hands be dangling out of my grave and give the message to the world. Nothing goes at the time of death. Everything we have to give up. At the time of death, I am weeping. At the same time, I conquered the world, but I could not conquer myself. And so I am weeping at the time of death. But that saint, he had conquered his own self. And so at the time of death, he was laughing. And here I am weeping. Let the world receive the message that I am going empty-handed. Empty-handed we come, empty-handed we go. And more important is to conquer yourself rather than conquering the world. That is the message given by Alexander the Great. And that is the message that Swami Vivekananda gave through this story. This is not a story, this is a history. So this is the message of bravery, the courage. We have to be courageous and we have to face the world with this courage. In every field, we will be able to meet any difficulty, face any challenge. Now I'll tell you about real lioness. A girl, 23 years old, who was going from Lucknow to Delhi for appearing in an interview, 11th April 2011. She had suddenly to go to change the name and all that. So there was no time for reservation. So she was going in a general compartment. She was the only girl in that compartment. At midnight, a few robbers came and started robbing the items, started looting. Now, this girl was having a golden chain in her neck, and the dacoits, they said, now it's your turn. Give that golden chain. All of them have given, but this girl, being the only girl in the general compartment, no, I will not give. My mother has given her own chain. I cannot part with it. And the dacoits were very angry. And they started fighting with her. And she started single-handed fighting with these four persons. All the people, all the male persons were in the compartment, were silent. They did not do anything. They had given this one. Now the dacoits thought, after seeing her courage, if the other persons start getting courage, then we'll have to return the items. So they became very angry. They pushed her out of the running train. Now, when they pushed her out of the running train, on another parallel track, another train was coming. She collided with that, and 2-3 times she was bounced back and ultimately fell down under the railway track. And the train came, and her left leg below the knee was crushed. And whole night she was lying between the two parallel tracks, whole night screaming out of pain, weeping, crying. Nobody came to her help. 49 trains up and down. Nobody listened to her cries. Early morning, somebody had come to that track, a villager, a simple villager, and he saw that, and then he brought the other villagers. They put her in the gunny bag and took her near the nearest railway station. From there, she was put in a guard's carriage to the nearby railway station, Bareilly. Again, she was put on the platform of Bareilly station, thinking that the girl has died. Then after that, she asked in a feeble voice, why are you taking? Then the police understood that she has not died. Then they took her to the civil hospital in Bareilly. And the doctors were discussing, this girl is going to die because already gangrene has started developing. And we don't have anesthesia or anesthetist to carry out this operation. And if this operation is not done, she's going to die. Now the girl, though she had become very weak, she could understand what they are telling. And they said, no, I don't want to die. If you don't have anesthesia, please carry out operation without anesthesia. They said, what do you mean? The whole leg has to be amputated. Even with the anesthesia, they cannot undergo this pain, and you want us to do operation without anesthesia and amputate the leg? She said, no, please save me. I want to live. And you carry out. And they carried out the operation for 2 hours, almost 2 hours. And she bore that pain. This cutting the leg, she bore that pain. And then afterwards, she was taken to Lucknow. Their family members came to know. They took her to Lucknow. She was in a trauma center. Then this politics started, and some government, some people, one particular party, they got interested, and they sent the aeroplane medical, and they took her to the AIIMS in Delhi, and she got treated there. There was so many things. Now the real politics started, and they blamed the UP government that UP government, there is no law and order situation. And that is, and that girl was already a volleyball champion, national champion. So they said even national volleyball champion girl is not protected. That is the law and order situation in UP. And the UP government replied, this girl is lying. Actually, she was trying to commit suicide. And that is why she fell down. And that is why her leg is broken. When this girl heard like this, she was broken. She was not that much affected by this losing of the leg, but this allegation, false allegation, she was broken. And at that time, on that hospital bed, she took a vow. Now the media people are not believing me, but I will, with this one leg is gone, there is artificial leg. Second leg also there are rods. In spite of this, I'll go to climb Mount Everest, create world record, and then only these media people will believe me. This is the thing that happened in 2011, and you'll be happy to know on 21st May 2013, she created the world record by being the first male amputee of the world to climb Mount Everest. She did that world record. That is the courage that she had. How courageously she fought. Before going to that Mount Everest, she underwent training in Tata Institute. And then on 23rd January 2013, she came to Baroda. At that time, I was in our Baroda Center, Ramakrishna Mission Vivekananda Memorial, where Swami Vivekananda himself had stayed. And the government of Gujarat handed over that bungalow to us on 18th April 2005. Sri Narendra Modi himself came. That time he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. Handed over this bungalow for converting to beautiful memorial of Swami Vivekananda. So I was there at that time. And she came there at that time. And she told me, Swamiji, you have to give me a special blessing. Because this is, even people with two legs are dying in Mount Everest. And I'm having only one leg, and second leg is also having rods. I said, I cannot bless you, but I can give you best wishes. I can pray for you. But you must go to the meditation room. Here, in this meditation room, Swami Vivekananda himself has stayed. There's vibrations are there. You take blessings from Swami Vivekananda, Sri Ramakrishna and Sharda Devi, and you will be able to achieve your goal. So she went there. She meditated there. And after that, when she came back, she said, oh, I'm feeling great load has gone off my head. I feel so peaceful. I'm feeling extra energy in myself after meditating there. I was very happy. She has heard only the name of Swami Vivekananda, but she doesn't know much about Swami Vivekananda. She has never heard about Ramakrishna Sharda Devi, but only with first meeting, she has got so much of faith. Then I was very happy. Then I gave a lot of books of Swami Vivekananda. I gave the photograph of Sri Ramakrishna Sharda Devi, Swami Vivekananda, the photograph, the holy trio. And I told her, you take this photo. Whenever you are in distress, whenever you have any problem, just pray to them. Your problem will be solved. And take this photo right up to Mount Everest. This small book, Thoughts of Power by Swami Vivekananda, also you must take right up to Mount Everest. Other books you may take only up to the camp, base camp. But one small book you can carry. That should be there. Whenever you are in distress, just read out one sentence from Swami Vivekananda book, small book, and pray to this photograph. She did exactly the same thing. Lot of things happened. Lot of emergencies came, but she went on reading that book, went on praying to the photograph of Sri Ramakrishna Sharda Devi, Swami Vivekananda. When she was just 1,000 feet away, suddenly the Sherpa said, you have to come back because oxygen now is getting emptied and you cannot get oxygen there, and without oxygen you cannot come back. She said, no, I am not going to. I have promised Swamiji that I will put this photograph. And I had told her that you put the photograph on Mount Everest. Don't bring back. And she took that as an assignment. I have to put this photograph on the top. So afterwards I may die, doesn't matter, but let me finish the work. And she did not listen to the Sherpa. Then the Sherpa had to afterwards follow her. She went with that, without almost winding oxygen, and just went to the Concord, put the Indian flag on the top of Mount Everest on 21st May 2013 at about say 10:55 a.m. And then she worshipped that photograph and put it there. Now it was almost 11. After 11, it is a suicidal attempt if anybody goes there. The whole climate changes. There is a lot of snowfall and all that. And it really started. And her oxygen also got dwindled. So she fell down almost unconscious. But what to do? No oxygen. And miraculously, it so happened, a Britisher was climbing. And when he saw that the whole climate has gone bad, now it's difficult, impossible to go up. So what did he do? He left his journey upward. He was having one oxygen cylinder. He threw that. Another oxygen cylinder for going back, he put on. Sherpa saw it. Now it must be containing some leftover oxygen. So immediately he went there and put that oxygen cylinder on this girl. And the girl survived. That is how she came back. And then I had told her that when you come back, we'll felicitate you. And 9th of August 2013, we had an International Youth Conference, 9th and 10th of August. We had an International Youth Conference, and that was inaugurated by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. So I told that you will be felicitated by him. So really, she came back, and at Baroda, we felicitated her. And you now know the name of that girl because she is very famous. That is, of course, Arunima Sinha. She afterwards got Padma Shri also, and she has got doctorate from many places, and she has received many awards. But remember, this is called, see the bravery of that girl. She was fighting the lone battle, not only physical suffering that she underwent, but the mental torture. And she said, the first thing I did after reaching Mount Everest was to thank all those people who had criticized her, because without that, the fire would not have come inside her. This is what she tells in her motivational speeches. But this message of Swami Vivekananda, of strength, of courage, of being bold, of being brave, has changed, has transformed many other lives. I'll give only one more incident, one more lioness, and then we can have question answer session also. When I was in Baroda, this is what happened. A girl used to come to us. Later on, girl was she had joined our children program. That is, we had a summer camp. She joined the summer camp for the children. Then later on, we had a weekly children program that also she joined. She used to come often. And then, of course, her whole all the family members also started coming. Her parents also became devotees. Now, it so happened that on 20th February 2014, that girl was in 7th standard. She had gone with other 45 students for a picnic. When the bus was returning about 50 kilometers away, the bus toppled over. Now, look at this girl. Because she had undergone the training and all the courses and the training programs and and she had read the books of Swami Vivekananda. Look at the courage. Look at her mental power. 7th standard girl. She first of all saved herself. She thought something happening because bus is going like this. So she protected her head. And it really happened. The bus toppled over. She came out of the window. And then she saw so many children weeping this and that. But she did not lose her. She did not weep. She did not cry. She started taking out the students from there. Then again, she entered once again the bus and then the teacher had also been injured and teacher's purse was there inside. She brought the purse because that contained the diary of all the telephone numbers. She did not have a mobile at that time. So she told one bicycle man to stop and help her out in telephoning. And then she called 108 ambulance. For 1 hour, the operation went off. She did not inform her parents because she said, first, all the serious students, their parents must be told. And because she was not seriously injured, a little injury was there. So she said, so my parents will be the last. And she started. And incidentally, she had done a project on consciousness. So she knew that when if a person goes into coma, it's very difficult to bring them back. So she put 5 persons on job, 5 of her colleagues on job. 5 students were very seriously injured and they were becoming unconscious. So she told, just go on patting them so that they do not go into subconscious mind. And later on, the doctor said, had this not been done, all the 5 persons would have died. But not a single student died. Just imagine a girl's hand was cut off and came to her lap, but still she did not lose her calm because of the meditation session that she was doing at Ramakrishna Mission, because of the books that she had read on Swami Vivekananda. At this young age, 7th standard girl, she carried out these operations. She took the leader. She became a leader in saving, put all them on the job. Finally, she rang up her father. And father said, I am coming to you. So, don't come, father. Everything is here. Now I have done the whole thing. The people have come and then they have taken the students. Their parents have also come. They have also gone. And now I'm coming myself. I'm coming to the ashram first. And because the father was in the ashram. Now father every day, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., he used to meditate in the ashram. So he was already in the ashrama. From ashrama only he had telephoned. And ashrama she told, I am coming to the ashram. And so she came to the ashram. And when she did pranam to me, that is the first time when she wept. Before that, she had not wept. Then I congratulated her that you have done the right thing. And fortunately, not a single one died. That girl who had lost her hand also got back her hand. It got back her hand and all that. And for 1 or 2 months, she used to visit her colleagues to the hospital to see them all. That spirit of service that had come, the spirit of calmness that had come by meditation, the spirit of that service that had come by reading the books of Swami Vivekananda, that is what helped her. And so, next 26 January in 2015, she was given prize, National Bravery Award. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, conferred that particular award to her, National Bravery Award. The name of that girl is Zil Marathe. Now she is doing MBBS in Jabalpur. She is in good touch with me. Even today also I had a message from her. So she is a good devotee of ours. So likewise, there are many, many examples. Last example, last year, the parents of Paramveer Vikram Batra came and they narrated the whole story about Vikram Batra. All of you, of course, know this is the book written by her father, that is G.L. Batra, Paramveer Vikram Batra. And there, you must be knowing about that famous dialogue of Vikram Batra before death, when he was in a very severe condition. That time, he telephoned his brother and said, I will either come back after raising the Indian flag in victory or return wrapped in it, but I will come for sure. So he came wrapped up in the flag, as you know. And that also, he was safe. But Captain Vikram Batra pushed aside his colleague, telling him that he had a family, and took the bullet himself. Though he was not yet married, he was to get married. And that girl, so much loving to him, even today, she is unmarried. She had already thought that she will marry. Everything was settled. But just imagine Captain Vikram Batra. He told his colleague, you see, you have a family. So let me take the bullet. He took the bullet himself and achieved martyrdom on 7 July 1999, fighting for his country during the Kargil war. You know the whole story, but just that he was given posthumously Paramveer Chakra. And he was called, by the enemies, he was given the name Sher Shah of Kargil. Enemies had given the name Sher Shah. Sher Shah kahan hai? Sher Shah se humko dar lagta hai. Just imagine, 20th-year boy. What courage, what bravery. And he had these 2 points not come because of this Vikram Batra, well, we would not have, it would have been difficult to win the war of Kargil. Just imagine what would have happened. But his sacrifice has not gone in vain. And so there are so many such instances where this bravery from inside comes out. This is the book written by this autobiography of Arunima Sinha, Born Again on the Mountain. This was released by Sri Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, on 12th of December 2014. I was also with her at that time, and I arranged for the meeting. She was very much insistent that no, I want the Prime Minister should release my book. But anyway, that book can be written, can be read. Very inspiring book. These are the books, very inspiring books. So we have many such instances we can take. So how to get courage ourselves? How to get bravery? This is by reading such examples, reading such books, coming in contact with the people, and always being positive in our nature, positive in our attitude, and never get cowed down. Face the challenges bravely. When Swami Vivekananda was traveling all over the country, before going to America, he went to Benares. He had darshan of Mother Durga. When he was coming out of this temple, suddenly a few monkeys started chasing him. Big monkeys, you know, what we called Hanuman, with black faces, very tall. They started chasing him. So Swami Vivekananda started running, and the monkeys are running after him. On one side there was a tank, a pond. Another side was a big wall. So what to do? He was running like this, going forward, and the monkeys were chasing. Now he had become exhausted. What to do? Suddenly he heard an old monk shouting, "Hey, daro mat, bandar ka samna karo. Don't be afraid. Face the monkeys, face the brutes." Then he stood up and looked back at those monkeys squarely. And he had a stick. He showed the stick like this. And all the monkeys fled away. Later on in America, Swami Vivekananda delivered his speech. While delivering his speech, he said, "That day, I learned one of the greatest lessons of my life." What is that? Face the brutes, face the difficulties. If you face the difficulties with courage, difficulties will run away. And if you are afraid, difficulty will go on pressing you, go on running after you, go on chasing you. So face the difficulties boldly. Any difficulty, any crisis. Now the coronavirus has come. What of that? It will come. We'll take all precautions, but never go panicking. We'll be bold. Face any difficulty, any challenge in life, whatever challenge, inside or outside, we will challenge. We will face it boldly. This is the message that we get from Swami Vivekananda. Die only once. Don't die every day. Many people are dying out of fear. When the goddess of plague was going, and somebody asked, "Where are you going?" He said, "I want to kill 15,000 people in Baghdad. I'm going to Baghdad." And when she was returning, that person said, "You told that you are going to kill 15,000 people in Baghdad, but I heard 1 lakh people have died." She said, "I killed only 15,000. Rest all died because of fear." So let us not die out of fear. Let us be bold. Corona comes, it's okay. We will face it. We'll try to take precaution. We'll take the treatment. But why die out of fear? Leave out all fear. If you find one word coming like a bomb from the Upanishads, Swami Vivekananda says that is the word Abhi. 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 Be fearless. Be fearless. Be fearless. Be bold. So let us try to be bold, courageous, face the situation in our daily life also. So many problems will come. Life means problem. Swami Vivekananda was asked this question by Maharaja Ajit Singh Ji of Khetri. He said, Swamiji, what is life? Swamiji immediately said, my dear prince, life is nothing but the unfoldment of being under the circumstances trying to press it down. So life is a struggle. Problems will come, adversities will come, problems will come, but convert the problems into challenges. Convert the problems, challenges into opportunities. So Arunima Sinha says, because I lost my leg in that train accident, that is how I could make the world record. Otherwise, with 2 legs, so many have gone to Mount Everest. I would not been able to make the world record had I not lost my leg in the train journey. Ultimately, it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. I could create the world record. That does not mean you should go inside the train and get lose your leg. I'm not telling that. What I'm saying, when the situation comes, when any problem comes, when convert that problem into challenge and convert the challenge into an opportunity. So every problem can be converted into opportunity. So let us be bold, and this boldness will come from inner strength. And as I told you, I will end with that one paragraph of Swami Vivekananda telling how to manifest. This infinite power is there. The lion is there. The lion is sleeping. The lion has to be awakened. The great lion inside has to be awakened. And that is because he's sleeping. That is why we are behaving like sheep and we are bleating. Anything happens. All the weakness comes and we become tension. We become full of tension. We become nervous at the time of examination, at the time of problem. Why? Because we have lost our moorings in the Atman, which is having infinite power. That lion is sleeping. So the lion is to be awakened. How it can be awakened? So Swami Vivekananda gives the gist of whole of Vedanta in one paragraph in Raj Yoga. What is that? Each soul is potentially divine. The goal of human life is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal. Do this either by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy, by one or more or all of these, and be free. This is the whole of religion. Doctrines, dogmas, rituals, temples, churches, mosques are but secondary details. This is the whole of religion. What is that? Manifesting the divinity within. How? By controlling nature, external, internal. How this can be done? By 4 yogas. Raj Yoga. Raj Yoga is Ashtanga Yoga, as you know. Yama, Niyama, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan and Samadhi. Yama are 5. Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha and Ahimsa. And Niyama also 5. Shauch, Santosh, Tap, Swadhyay, Ishwar Pranidhan. Yama, Niyama, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan and Samadhi. And for the youngsters, I will say very briefly to tell is to follow the moral principles, ethical principles, and to meditate. That is Raj Yoga. Very simple. The second, Gyan Yoga. Gyan Yoga is positive thoughts. Reading the books, positive thoughts. Taking the positive thoughts. And not only reading and not only listening, but of course, reflecting on it. Shravana, Manana, and then Nididhyasana, meditating on it. That will give you power. When you meditate on the powerful thoughts, when you cogitate on that and meditate on that, that gives you power. That is Gyan Yoga. Chidanandrupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. I am the birthless, ever deathless, ever blissful Atman. Deathless, ever pure, ever blissful Atman. Remembering that again and again. Repeating that again and again. That is Gyan Yoga. Third is Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is prayer, repeating the mantra, worship, most importantly, loving God. Loving God, the infinite. Swami Vivekananda says in his book on religion of love, there cannot be an infinite love between two finite realities changing all the time, and their minds also changing all the time, their moods also changing all the time, both going towards death. There can be an infinite love between infinite Atman and infinite Paramatma, and that is Bhakti Yoga. God, love the God, love the Lord, thy God with all thy strength, with all thy might, with all thy heart, with all thy soul. That is Bhakti Yoga. And fourth is Karma Yoga. Convert each and every work into worship. Every work can be converted into worship by non-attachment, by the spirit of non-attachment, by dedicating your fruits of your actions to the God, to the Lord. More importantly, unselfish service. This unselfish service is very important. Swami, when a disciple, Sarachan Chakravarti, asked this question to Swami Vivekananda, you are having so much full of courage, but we become frightened at very small problem. What is the secret of yours, so much of courage? Then Swami Vivekananda gave the secret. What is that? He said, start thinking about others' welfare. Start doing others' welfare unselfishly. Unselfishness is the important thing. If you start unselfish service, the moment you start selfish serving unselfishly, you will find tremendous power coming to you. You will not be able to bear that power. So much power come to you. A lion's courage will come to you if you start unselfish service for others. So he told the Maharaja of Mysore, my dear prince, this life is short. The vanities of this world are transient. In this short life, they alone live for others. The rest are more dead than alive. So, this message of Swamiji, of serving others, unselfish service, that is the crux of bringing out the courage within. So these four methods, when we practice every day, that is, whatever work we are doing, convert into worship, trying to do with unselfishness, trying to do with non-attachment, convert work into worship. Whole day we are working. In morning, evening, we spend some time in meditation, Raj Yoga, spend some time in prayer, Bhakti Yoga, spend some time in reading inspiring books and meditating on that, Jnana Yoga. If we combine all the four yogas in our daily life, then gradually the lion which is within, sleeping, that will be awakened. The giant within will be awakened. The divinity will be manifested. And then once the divinity is manifested, we'll be able to say like that saint who met Alexander the Great, that I am deathless, ever pure, ever blissful Atman. I am not afraid of your sword. I am not afraid of anything in the world. That courage will come. That fearlessness will come. That bravery will come.